Welcome to Paw Print Academy, your blueprint to raising better dogs. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your host for this journey. I've got my trusty co-host here, Brianna.
Hello.
And together we're bringing you real-world training insights built on leadership, structure, and proven methods. We record this podcast with live clients on the line in one take with live, unscripted questions and answers. At the end of the day, this podcast is a lot more than just teaching your dog to sit or stay. It's about building trust, creating calmness, and becoming the kind of leader your dog truly needs. We do that with our 3-pillar method of trust, obey, and perform. Together, we'll show you how these 3 pillars shape every step of training. Thanks for being here. Let's get started.
All right, welcome to episode 40, Advanced Heeling and Focus Work. Tonight, we're going to talk about advanced heeling, which may be a little bit of a misnomer because advanced can mean a lot of different things to different people. But what we want to focus on is where we go from the simple loose leash walking and a simple heel command to eventually moving towards that like competition style heeling. The only issue is that we're not jumping straight to competition heeling. And so tonight we're going to talk through what we would recommend to put you on the right path. Couple of heads up. So tonight is one of the first episodes that we have done in a kind of a mobile environment. We're away from home and away from our recording equipment. And so tonight we are out and about. We've done everything we can to try to make the sound quality the best that we can. But if you notice a difference, that's what it is. So without further ado, let's jump into it. On this episode, we're going to talk about advanced heel work, right? And how it's not about forcing your dog to just stare at you and walk like kind of prance like that competition dog that you've seen on YouTube. Mm-hmm. What we do want to do is we want to start developing this like higher level of communication, engagement, and positional awareness. And that is what will help your dog to stay connected to you even when the environment becomes difficult.
Yeah.
So first off, and we're going to cruise through this because it's really not a difficult concept. It's just we're going to break down the kind of the steps of what we want to do. So first off, heel is a position in relation to you, right? Focus is the mindset that we want from the dog. So a dog can technically be beside you without actually being engaged with you, right? They kind of are like walking along. They're watching you, so they kind of like they don't get out of position. But this is more of a loose leash walk than really the more precise version of a heel.
Right, which is what most pet dog owners are kind of used to.
Correct. Exactly. And usually when we teach heeling for pet dogs, that's usually what we go for is I want the dog from withers to tail and on my like left side on my pant seam, right? I want it to line up. But that gives the dog, depending on the size of the dog, a little bit of wiggle room to be a little forward, a little back. Most pet dog owners really don't care about that, and it's pretty transparent to them.
Yeah.
But when we get into more advanced work, now just walking next to me isn't quite good enough. And so we really want to focus in on the focus part mm-hmm. of how engaged is the dog to you. And can you hold the dog's engagement?
Yeah. I watched a video earlier, side note, of a dog that was so focused on its owner. They were walking through Home Goods and she stopped by a dog statue, and it took a solid 3 minutes for the dog to like look away from her and be like, ooh, what is that? Where did that thing come from?
Nice. So a dog should learn where the heel position exists relative to your body. That's the first step, is they've got to know where it is. But then rather than just following leash pressure, they have to be able to get there proactively.
Yep.
And focus doesn't mean just staring at your face every second. What we really want is the reliability that comes from the dog being able to observe the environment while still keeping enough attention on you, the handler, to respond appropriately and immediately if you stop, change direction, or whatever.
And I think people might think that that's more difficult than it sounds, right? And it is to a degree, but I don't think it's as difficult as humans trying to multitask, right? They kind of see both things. It's like using our peripheral vision.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So what we have to do when we start to work on this, like, more, maybe instead of advanced heel work, maybe we just call it like more mature,
Yeah.
like heel work. Because when we start working on that, the dog starts making adjustments without constantly being physically guided. Now because they're engaged with you, they're looking to kind of match your pace or your movements or your turning or whatever that is.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not something we typically will teach regular pet dogs in any of our programs, but we always encourage owners to go far and beyond what we even will, because that's you bonding and engaging with your dog and teaching them something new.
Yeah. And also, when we talk about any type of skill, everything that you teach your dog is another challenge.
Yeah.
Like, you have to work through, not only you have to work through challenges, because the challenges is what builds your bond with your dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a real big rift in the dog training community, and this, like, positive force-free trainers versus balance trainers versus this versus that. What's a correction? What's this? But really, we should be a little more aligned on the fact that at the end of the day, we should be prioritizing. I think everyone can agree that we should be prioritizing the relationship that you have with your dog.
Yeah.
And with that comes you need constant work, right? You've got to give your dog
practice.
jobs. You got to give your dog challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
when your dog overcomes those challenges, those obstacles, that's what builds your relationship.
Yep.
So let's go into like building that precision through the one of the first things that I do is to build engagement and to build a dog that really focuses on your movements. I have to keep them guessing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that I do that is I use a lot of changes of direction.
Yep.
So a lot of stops, a lot of quick movements. I'll stop, then I'll move quick, then I'll stop, then I'll turn around, then I'll walk, then I'll just spin 180. But all of those movements keep the dog more engaged than just walking at a slow pace all the way down the road, where this dog can basically just check out, 100 yards down the road. They're like, this is boring.
Right, and when you're teaching something like this too, you're going to have a higher motivator than what you typically would for things that the dog already knows or things that the dog is already comfortable with. You're going to have to kind of go up a level on motivation to kind of kick that in to where they're willing to look to you more than the outside stimulus or environment, I could say.
Yeah. I want to bring attention to you have to up the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
We got to come back to that.
Yeah.
So, so first things first, right? Well, let's just talk about the physical cues and things that you do. And then let's talk about how we can increase the dog's motivation to perform. So one, walking straight down the sidewalk is going to be the easiest thing to do, right? And before we get too far ahead, you have to have that skill down before you can do any of this other stuff.
Yeah.
This lesson or this concept that we're talking about tonight is not necessarily a beginner episode. It's not a beginner concept. When we're talking about a focused, like locked in heel with a dog, you 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 cannot be at 70% of a loose leash walk.
Yeah.
You can't be still struggling to get your dog back from, oh, I saw a dog and now I'm all over the place.
Yeah, if you have reactivity and things like that, you for sure have to lock those things down before you start going into these advanced concepts like this.
Right. There are pieces that for sure can be helpful.
Yeah.
But overall, if your dog struggles with reactivity and you're struggling keeping their engagement with that anyway, obedience is only going to get you so far.
Yep.
And we for sure want to use obedience to give the dog a job and keep the dog engaged. Those are the basics for sure. But at some point that obedience will fail because obedience is by itself is not going to outlast distraction.
Right. Yeah, definitely
That's where
not.
proofing and these other concepts come in. But we're going to talk about that.
Mhm.
All right. Where we go into this more mature version of our heel work, we're going to start asking the dog to pay attention to what I'm doing right as it's happening, right? Real quick reaction times. So I want to start introducing changes of pace. I want to start incorporating stops, 90-degree turns, 180-degree turns, changes of direction, short bursts of quick movement, right into stops. All of those things are going to push the dog to have to pay attention.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have to keep their attention and not be boring, for sure.
Right. Don't be boring.
Yeah.
That is really like a fundamental concept that a lot of people get wrong because maybe they're focused on something else, or maybe they're just putting in the time because like I get off of work and we go for a walk and this is what I do and I say heel.
Right. Most owners, I think, use the walks as relaxation for themselves and the dog, right? Or at least an attempt to like take the dog on a bathroom break if they don't have yards and things like that. Whereas this is definitely going to be a more advanced concept where you're kind of sort of playing with the dog.
It's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Can you get away from your dog? This is a game that I use in a lot of our group classes, and people are always flabbergasted by it because I'm like, all right, here's the game. Can you get away from your dog? And if you can't get away from your dog, you owe them a treat. Right? It's like, cool. All right, let's go. Where I want you to focus your effort is in becoming less predictable. That's a good way of saying it. So I want you to find ways to up the ante and be unpredictable, be wild, be crazy, be like, oh my goodness, this dog just cannot even guess which way you're going to go next.
Right. And they have to learn that following your movement is what matters. Following that change of pace and being able to stay with you is really where you're going to see your dog change that mindset.
Yeah. So the dog's going to learn that like paying attention, it matters. Not only does it matter, but when they're on a leash, if they don't pay attention and you make a change of direction and you're going a different way than your dog, at some point just physics are going to be involved. No matter what you believe about dog training, physics kicks in and the dog is going to be on a tight leash. And at that point, that's an uncomfortable place to be. No matter whether you're using a slip lead, a flat collar, or any other type of tool. So at that point, though, that's less than comfortable, right?
Yeah.
That's less comfortable than the dog's going to be on a loose leash. So that is a corrective force, right? At some point of some level. So I'll never ever advocate for jerking your dog around or yanking your dog around, but that tightness on the leash is something that is a form of communication that tells the dog, oops, I went the wrong way. Oops, I'm out of position.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the dog yields to that pressure and they move back towards you, the leash goes loose automatically without you even doing anything. And there's no quicker binary process of pressure on, pressure off to communicate that, hey, that's a good position and that's a bad position.
Yeah. Right. And I think also, just like every other exercise or skill that you teach your dog, starting with short, successful reps are going to be where you make the most progress with your dog. If you draw it out too long and you're just correcting, no, you didn't get it right, let's do it again. No, you didn't get it right, let's do it again. The dog's going to be frustrated with that process, and they're not going to learn as quickly as if you do 3 small repetitions, nail it, and then take a break.
Yeah, right. That's a really, really good point. You have to spread these out over repetitions, not like time under tension,
Yeah.
right? This isn't the same thing of just like doing these marathon sessions and oh, this is going to get through to the dog. You need a lot of these small
Mm-hmm.
sessions. All right. So now let's come back to that motivation concept because inevitably, when somebody gets right to the point where they're working on loose leash walking, they're like, all right, now my dog's starting to walk without pulling. Then they're like, cool, now let's do some heel work. And they start doing that, and everyone resorts to these like videos you've seen where like a trainer or a handler or whatever is like holding like a toy or a treat or something like over the dog's head and like
Mm-hmm.
making them like bounce and prance up and try to follow the treat. What's your thoughts?
Um, I think my thoughts are probably when it comes to heel work, I don't I don't always see a use for it with a dog other than learning something new and you challenging yourself and your dog. Do I see a purpose outside of a competition? No, not necessarily. If that's your goal with your dog, then great. But you do have to learn like magnet feeding, like what motivates your dog. If it's not food and you're like, oh, my dog doesn't really pay attention to treats, then you're going to struggle if you're going to try to use treats to get your dog into a perfect heel.
Mhm.
So you have to learn what motivates the dog and you have to use that to your advantage, whether it's toys, whether it's food, and whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, we can find other things though um, that can be motivating.
Mm-hmm.
Food, in my experience, food is one of the quickest things to fall by the wayside once the dog gets stimulated and aroused and they get outside.
Mm-hmm.
And inevitably, I hear this a lot in the evals that I do in people's homes where they're like, oh, my dog loves treats. They're super food motivated. And I ask, well, what do you do when you're outside? And they're like, well, we don't. He won't take any food. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. All right. Well, your dog's at a different level of arousal, a different stimulation level, and that food drive is one of the first things to fall by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other things though that you can motivate your dog. Prey drive or the desire to follow movement
Mm-hmm.
is incredibly addicting to a dog.
Yeah.
So that's why you see it. I've watched some trainers say that one of the first and best ways to get your dog to come before you've even really like repped out that recall, if you
Mm-hmm.
really need your dog to come, is just run in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And then the dog's like, whoa, what are we doing? And they chase you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's in the dog's DNA.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you might find, and I've done this in the group classes too, where a dog won't play. Oh, they won't play. They won't play with this toy. They won't play with this ball. They won't play with this tug. But as soon as I incorporated movement into it and I was running away from the dog or I was holding something out but keeping it away from the dog and moving it away from them, suddenly they were significantly more engaged
Mm-hmm.
because we were turning on or just kind of scratching the surface of that prey drive that they're like, I do want to grab that. Even though once they did grab onto that tug, they also disengaged and they were like, I'm not that committed to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a different issue.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like to demonstrate is that you can turn on a dog's genetics and be like, I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna bite that. I'm gonna chase that. Now, whether they're going to commit to it or not, that's a totally different issue.
Yeah.
All right. So why I say that is because you've got to find what motivates your dog.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, everything that a dog does is about what they want, right? What they want to get, what is good for them. They're not just doing things just to please you. Now, we can totally leverage relationship into increasing the likelihood of obedience and duration and these other things. There's no doubt about it. There's like correlations in all these. But at the end of the day, a dog does what it wants to do because there's something in it for them.
Yep.
They're getting paid one way or another. So you need to find ways to pay your dog that they're interested in
Mm-hmm.
and then use those. But so many people get wrapped around the axle of treats. Well, this is how you train a dog. I read an article that said treat-based training was the most successful. You're right, until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It works until it doesn't. But your dog isn't the dog that they did the study on.
Yeah.
Right? They did these studies, and that's all great. But every dog, just like every human, is different.
Mm-hmm.
Humans like different things. Mammals in general like different things. So you've got to dial this in to your dog. Get to know them. Try different things. Try treats. Try toys. Try movement. Try keep away. Try catch me if you can. See what the dog likes and enjoys, and do more of that.
Yep.
All right. Next, let's talk about focus, because without the focus, I told you at the beginning of this that you needed two things. One, we have to figure out the position in relation to you. That's the hard skill. But the second thing is the mindset of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
We have to increase the dog's focus on us in order to make this work. So this is really where our previous episode, I think it was 37 maybe, we talked about distance, duration, and distraction. We talked about proofing.
Yep.
And the episode on proofing was all about how we're going to kind of dial this in one thing at a time. We work on a little duration, then we work on a little distance, then we work on a little distraction. I
Mm-hmm.
always start with duration first because it's the only one that you can do without the other two.
Yeah.
If you do distance, you are automatically incorporating a little duration because the farther you get away, the longer it takes you to get back. Same thing with distraction, right? So duration is what I start with. That's the one that I can do without the other two.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add those in. So once the mechanics are understood of staying close, then we've got to make this heel, or this more mature version of the heel, survive in the real world when we incorporate those distractions.
Yeah.
I.e. another dog, or noises, or you walk through a store or something like that.
Yep.
All right. So same concept that we've talked about before. We're going to start with mild distractions. We're going to gradually increase the difficulty. We don't want to jump right from your driveway right to the local brewery, right? Your driveway is maybe like third grade. I like to break it down living room and like inside the home. That's your kindergarten, first grade. You come outside, maybe to the porch. That's like second grade. The driveway is third grade. In front of the house is we just continue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually we build in enough distance and distraction that I'm sorry. Eventually we build on those concepts with generalization, showing your dog that we mean the same thing no matter where we are.
Yeah.
We increase the distraction-laden environment, and then we can end up at that brewery or that like crowded public place, wherever it is that's dog friendly.
Yeah.
Okay. Your dog does not need to ignore the environment completely, like what Brianna was saying from that video, where the dog was just so involved that it had no idea it was standing next to like
Right,
another
he like
dog.
bumped into it and then was like, whoa, when did that go there?
Right. So that's great. Love that. Obviously, don't shut that down if
Right.
that's what you've got. But it's more than likely you're not going to start there.
Right. If your dog looks away from you is what we're talking about. You're not going to correct your dog for glancing away and looking at something, but looking right back at you.
Correct. It's totally natural for a dog to check where they're going or looking around
Yeah.
and then right back to you. But that's really what we want to see, is that you can command that attention back to you on their own,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or without really like any type of force or cue.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really good place to be. And it's really helpful for them to learn that those environmental distractions, they don't override what you want or what you've asked them for.
Yeah.
Always reward good position, right? This is a really important one that people miss.
Mm-hmm.
People mess this up all the time because we'll be walking and the dog will be doing really good and they're walking along and they're telling me a story about something and I'm like, your dog has been walking in a perfect like heel position for the last 30 paces and you've said nothing.
Yeah.
You have to let your dog know when they're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just let them know when they're doing the wrong thing.
Right.
Any type of engagement is good engagement, right? Always reward that. And then we want to correct the dog when they're out of position simply by moving them back or guiding them back into the right position and then rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we continue to bolster this with lots of little repetitions, and we just maintain consistency.
Yep.
Consistency is the key here. If a dog completely falls apart, you've just got to de-escalate the situation. So you've got to move back, go back a grade, go back a level of distraction.
Yeah, don't get frustrated and start kind of like fighting your dog against you when you're asking your dog to be basically touching your leg, following you along. If you start getting frustrated with your dog, that's going to put you guys at odds almost immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the ultimate goal is to have a dog that can move confidently through these distracting environments, but we just want them to maintain that connection with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean they're never going to drift away or try to walk around something or make a mistake, but we want to see them react and adjust appropriately.
Yep.
That's really the goal.
Yeah.
All right. So, today I'm looking real quick. I don't believe that we have
No questions?
Nope. We don't have I don't have any questions that have been submitted here. So we're going to jump into listener projects. It's going to be short and sweet tonight. Project number 1, movement. The movement drill. So I want you to find a quiet area, put your dog into that heel position, and instead of taking a normal walk, I want you to spend about 5 minutes changing your movement. Right? Just like we talked about. You're going to go at a normal pace, a slow pace, a faster pace. You're going to do 90-degree turns, 180-degree turns, quick stops, quick movements, quick accelerations, and then quick stops.
Mm-hmm.
All of this in just 5 minutes. Take like a minute, then put your dog on a break. Then do another minute, then put your dog on a break. Work through it for about 5 or so minutes, and then call it good. That's your repetition. But pay attention how quickly your dog begins to anticipate your movement. If you are fun and engaging in this drill, you will notice that your dog becomes a lot more responsive really quickly.
Yeah.
All right, project number 2, the distraction ladder. So choose 3 different environments, right? Make one a low distraction environment, one a moderate, and one a higher distraction environment. That low distraction should be like your driveway, your front porch, your front yard, something like that. The high distraction could be like that local brewery or a dog-friendly restaurant or something, like a coffee shop. Don't just progress in your levels of difficulty simply because you completed a session.
Mm-hmm.
You need to master one at a time before you move forward. All right. So progress when your dog demonstrates that they can maintain that position that we were talking about and respond to your directional changes as you do it. And they need to maintain mental availability, right? Where if you stop and then ask them for a sit, they should be able to process that and do that.
Mm-hmm.
If not, if level 2 falls apart, go back to level 1, right? Strengthen the behavior at those basic levels before you move forward.
Yeah.
All right. That is all we have for tonight. It's a simple concept of increasing the precision of your dog's position in relation to you and increasing their engagement. We're looking for that more mature level of heel work and focus work. So with that, if you want to be part of this podcast next week, where we do 3 of these now per month. So the last 3 to 4 Thursdays in the month, we'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
The first Thursday of the month, we are doing a like a free open question and answer session now. So we do it at 8 p.m. on Eastern time. And we do it every single week. It's in the app. If you're curious about getting involved, you're listening to us and you don't know what this app's all about, go to thepawprintacademy.com. Sign up with a free email address. Don't pay for anything. Go to the events page and you will see where you can RSVP to these recordings and be part of the podcast, either asking questions during, or we can just do a little question and answer session afterwards if you don't want to be part of the recording. Either way, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our project here, and have a great night.
Good night.